Hey, Jason.
Hey, Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Not too bad if I don't trip here.
Good. So, question? You have a question for me?
Oh yeah, I got a question. So you've been reading the Old Testament, right? And
Yeah.
I was wondering if there's one character who really stood out to you.
Well, that's a really loaded question. Yeah, when I think about the Old Testament, I think about when I was just going to a ministry trip in Vulcan, in Alberta. Vulcan, the place where that guy with the ears from Star Trek. Anyways, this guy said to me once, he's like, "Man, you really have this heart of David." And I was like, I took that as a super big compliment. I thought, man, like, heart of David. But you know what? I never read the Old Testament. I never read 1st and 2nd Samuel, so I didn't know what the heart of David even looked like. But after going through it, I began to see that that was actually quite a big compliment. But the thing is, not because David was a perfect man. The thing that we learn about David is he's considered to have some of the most favor in God's sight in the entire Bible, according to all the kings. Besides Josiah and Hezekiah was a pretty good guy. But David, the thing with David was that it wasn't about doing all the right things. He had a heart that was bent towards God. It's like he knew in his heart that he needed God. It's like that's the thing that God's really looking for. He's looking for people who completely are dependent upon him. And so with David, we see that he did a really, really bad sin with Bathsheba. He saw the woman up on the balcony, and he looked twice, and he allowed that to turn into full-blown sin, and he committed idolatry, what ended up turning into that, he tried to cover up his sin with another sin, and he murdered her husband, Uzziah. So the thing is that we learn, oh no, like this hero in the Bible, David, was a killer. But the thing is, God worked within his weaknesses and he made him perfect. And the thing is, the thing that God really found perfect in his sight was his faith. It was just this, if you read Psalm 51, it talks about he had a contrite spirit. He was broken, he cried out to God. And that's something we learn about, that you think like, God, I'm striving, I'm working hard, I'm trying to do your will, and it's just like, there's so many problems in my life. Well, have you ever thought to wonder, maybe the problems that are in your life is because you're trying to do so much? It's like you're trying to add to something to God's character when he's everything and he's done it all. And so David knew, like, he's just this empty vessel, and like, it's like the glory went through David to God, and from God to David to the people. But a lot of the times the kings, what happened was that it stopped at them, and they made the decision, and they became prideful, and they wanted a temple, and they wanted a kingdom that was stable in the nations that appeared to be stable with these fear-based kings. And David looked beyond that. He had discernment, and he said, look, you know what? It's going to sound crazy, but when most kings were trying to build up their armies, which David did some of that too, but he would pray. So his weapon of warfare was prayer. And he was on his knees and he was crying out to God. And guess what? Guess who fought his battles? God did. So that's something we learn through these characters, is that we learn something about God in these great characters in the Bible, such as David. So I would say David is one of my superheroes found in the Old Testament. Right,
well,
Zach?
Thanks for sharing, Jason.
Thanks for
I learned a lot, man.
Yeah. Thanks for filming, brother.